Hey gamers, Maniac here with my pet Pikachu. Say hi, Pikachu. As you guys know from me picking up a 3DS XL, I have really been looking at classic games for the DS and the 3DS and building a pretty big library on it. And with all my Maniacs hauls that I've been doing as of recently, I figured it was time probably to get to the elephant in the room, the thing that has been selling Nintendo portable systems for years now, ever since the days of 1999 and the Game Boy. We got to talk about Pokemon. And here's where you can get some of the best deals that I've seen off of brand new Pokemon games that you can find retail. Now, right now, if you're a collector, right now we're in what's called Generation 5. The current Pokemon games are considered a 5th generation. The reason why we call games by their generation is because every time Nintendo releases a new Pokemon game, they don't release one game by itself. We could just call it that. They actually release multiple games. At launch, they usually release at least 2. And the reason why is because even though the games are identical in most respects, they have different Pokemon in different areas, forcing players to trade. Occasionally, the game systems will actually, or Nintendo will release a 3rd game in their generation, which is kind of like a one game to rule them all, but that usually comes after the fact. And to be perfectly honest, Nintendo has not released a game like that in this generation at all, and it doesn't look like they will be. So you're probably going to be stuck at either buying both of them or choosing one over another. There's no major definitive game release that Nintendo is doing this generation, which is good and bad. I probably personally would have preferred to wait for a new game, but or for a 3rd game release, but they're just not doing it. So let's talk right off the bat with the staple games of the 5th generation. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Black or Pokemon White. Now, this is Pokemon Black right here for the Nintendo DS. I do not have a copy of Pokemon White, its sister game, but if I did, it's pretty much, like I said, they're pretty much the same game, only they have different Pokemon and different epics, different epic Pokemon offered with it. But as you can see right here, you could probably get this literally anywhere. You can find this or Pokemon White very easily for $35 MSRP. That's a definitive price on it. That's pretty much where it's being seen everywhere. You might be able to get $5 off and maybe find it for $30 off of Amazon or something like that. But for the most part, you'll be paying $35 for this game or for the white game. But it's pretty ubiquitous. You can pretty much find those anywhere. Now, in Pokemon Generation 5, they've also recently released 2 sequels. This is the first time they've released direct sequels to generational games. And so they've called them Pokemon Black 2 and Pokemon White 2. These are also for the Nintendo DS. The cool thing about these games is that they do continue the story of the same generation. I'm sorry, in the same generation, in Generation 5. And they are still considered Generation 5 games. Right now, at launch, you could probably find these games for $40. However, they very quickly dropped the price to $35. The cool thing about that was that actually I saw these games for $15 at Best Buy last weekend. I'm not even joking. So the reason why I've been doing this haul is just to tell you guys that you might actually be able to find retailers dropping the price on this pretty sharply because they might have excess inventory that they're trying to sell off. I don't know how successful they might be at that, but I'm just saying, if you are able to find these games, you might be able to find them and for a low price. And if you can, jump on it because these games have incredible value just based upon the previous generations alone. So Black 2 and White 2 you might be able to find for as low as $15 if you can jump on that price. But under normal circumstances, you'll probably be able to find it for $35 brand new. And the cool thing is that GameStop is running a promotion next month for Black 2 and White 2. If you bring in your copy of the game or you bring it with your game system, and you bring it into GameStop starting, I think, March 2nd or so, they'll offer you for free a download of a rare Pokemon straight to your game as a gift. So definitely Pokemon fans are probably going to be hovering around GameStop starting next month. Definitely something to look into and definitely a reason to pick up the game this coming up pretty soon. So that's for the 5th generation. There's also some other games that you might also find on shelves right now. Pokemon Rumble Blast or Pokemon Conquest. Pokemon Rumble Blast is a 3DS game and Pokemon Conquest is a DS game. They're not considered part of the Pokemon generational stories. They're spin-off games. They kind of involve, so Pokemon Rumble Blast involves like toy Pokemon battling in a toy store, and Pokemon Conquest involves Pokemon pairing up with like warlords across history and stuff like that. Stock prices for those are probably $40 for Pokemon Rumble Blast and $30 for Pokemon Conquest. I don't recommend for either of them paying more than $30 a piece for them, and I only recommend them to serious Pokemon collectors. They're not, like I said, they're not part of the Pokemon generational stories. But they are easily accessible and easily found on pretty much any shelf you're looking at retail. You'll probably also notice on retail shelves that there's another game that's actually hanging out on them, and that's this game, Pokemon Soul Silver. This actually does have a sister game called Pokemon Heart Gold, but I haven't found that on any retail shelves. But I've found plenty of copies of this on retail shelves, at least in my area. You won't find this for prices lower than $40, and I'm going to tell you why. This is not considered to be a Pokemon. This is considered to be a Pokemon generational game. However, this is a remake. This is a Pokemon generational game for Generation 2, as is Heart Gold. They were based off of the Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver generation of that was exclusive to the Game Boy Color way back in the day. A lot of people consider that Generation 2 was probably the best of the Pokemon generations. I mean, I'm not going to make the decision. I never played Pokemon Generation 2. But I really was kind of hoping that at some point they do release a modern release or do a modern re-release of Pokemon Generation 1. Whether it be something like this, hopefully, or they'll do just a simple... I'll be fine with the release to the Virtual Console perfectly. But this is, if you're interested in maybe getting a place to start off with, this might be your game to do so. It is $40, I admit, but the reason why is, as you notice right here, this is a bit of a thicker box than the other games. That's because this is actually bundled with a peripheral. It's called the Pokewalker. Pokewalkers by themselves go for $20 just alone. Most other retail stuff, heck, even in parts and supplies warehouses, they'll be $20. So consider it like this. You'll be paying $40 for this game, but you're paying $20 for the game and $20 for the Pokewalker. Brand new. 20 a piece, add up to 40, I'm fine with that. I really am. What do you think, Pikachu? Yeah. That's what I thought. So there you have it. I would recommend starting off with this game if you can find it. Like I said, it's pretty much ubiquitous anywhere. If you can find Heart Gold, everybody's got that game, but if you could find that, I would probably say just for its rarity, pick that one up. The cool thing about it is that it actually, in order for the Pokewalker to work, it uses the infrared port, as you can see in this little diagram right here. It uses the infrared port on the back of the DS. Now, if you're a 3DS user like I am, you'll notice actually that they actually may have stripped out other stuff from the DS to the 3DS transition, but they actually kept the infrared port. The infrared port is still back there. So, my advice is that it should be workable. I haven't tried it, but this should work. It's still part of the hardware. I don't think they're going to be using the Pokewalker in later games. It wasn't used in Black 2 or White 2, as far as I know. However, the reason why they don't need it is because a Pokewalker is a pedometer. It's a step counter, basically. When they released the 3DS, this actually does have its own internal pedometer. It's built into the hardware. There is a step counter inside of it. So, future 3DS generation Pokemon games like Pokemon X or Pokemon Y, which are coming this fall, probably will make use, if they do, of the internal mechanisms or internal hardware of this without the need of a Pokewalker. As far as I know, the only Pokemon games that took use of this was either Heart Gold or Soul Silver. I don't recommend finding a copy of either without the Pokewalker attachment. It's just not worth it. So be wary of any used copies that you might actually find. You might think you're getting a deal, but you're probably not unless the Pokewalker is included with it. And on top of that, be wary. These things, I think, take watch batteries. So keep aware of that. So that has it for what's currently out of retail and what kind of deals that you can find right now for retail. But what about older games that you might be interested in? As I said, if you're a current 3DS user, there's no Game Boy Advance slot on these things. And on top, so you're going to have a problem with playing classic Game Boy version games from the earlier generations, be it Generation 1 through 3. However, Pokemon Generation 4 actually was for the DS. If you can find it, there was a third game release. It was Pokemon Platinum. I recommend finding this. The only place I was able to find this was actually through eBay. Nobody had it retail, so I had to pick this up at retail. The lowest price I could find for it was $40 on eBay. However, that was still a lot cheaper than what I was seeing resellers on Amazon sell it for. I was seeing prices as high as $75 for it brand new. So keep aware of that. If you want to find older generation Pokemon games, my advice is to look for the third game in the series, kind of like Pokemon, I think what is it, whether it be Pokemon Platinum or in the earlier ones like Pokemon Crystal and stuff like that, or Pokemon Yellow. But you're probably going to need the older hardware to get them to work. The other thing is, if you're interested in finding them used, whether it be like the original Game Boy or Game Boy Color games and stuff like that, be aware that those use internal batteries in order to keep internal memory saved. In all likelihood, those batteries have long since died. It's been like 10 or 12 years. So those games might not save anymore. There's really not much you can do about that short of crack them open and try to remove and replace the internal batteries on them. But you won't be able to recover your lost saves by that point. You'll have to make new ones. But however, this is why I kind of want Nintendo to release virtual console games, or re-release these games through the virtual console, because nothing will be kept better than internal memory on these. It's the best place that they could actually, it's the best release that they can do. So please, Nintendo, release the original Game Boy generation games for the virtual console. You'd make a killing, and it's a heck of a lot easier because there's no internal slot for Game Boy games on those things. It's just so much more practical to just download them through a virtual console release. Makes sense. So there you have it, guys. There are currently Pokemon games that you can download off the Nintendo eShop for a fee. Pokemon Dream Radar. There's actually even a Pokédex release. Pokédex 3D Pro, Pokédex 3D is no longer available for download. That was a free download that was available for a limited time and only included some of the original Pokemon. Some of the Pokemon from the last generation release, from the 5th generation release. For new Pokemon games, you're going to have to pay like I think $15 for that, or for the Pokédex, or about $2 or $3 for the Dream Radar. However, the Pokédex is actually cheaper download off of the Nintendo DS, because even though they have released it to iPhone, with all the extra expansions that it's offering, you'll probably be paying more downloading it off your iPad or your iPhone than you would buying it on your 3DS. However, if that's your only option, if you want the Pokédex on your iPod or iPhone or something like that, or iPad, by all means, download Pokédex off your iPhone. It works. It's available. So, until next time, guys, just trying to help you be the best like no one ever was. Take care. This is Maniac with my pet Pikachu, saying over and out. Bye-bye. It's kind of hard to find these games now at retail. Your best bet is to look for them on eBay. And the best I was able to do is I was able to find Pokemon Platinum, which was the 3rd generation game release. Meaning that this was like the one game to rule them all for that generation. However, I had to pay upwards of $40 for a new copy of this brand new. And let me tell you something, on Amazon and stuff like that, there were resellers selling these as high as $75. If you can find it at retail brand new, if you're lucky enough to have retailers that are that good that would still have copies of this, then you're very lucky. But one thing I did notice about my copy that I got from eBay, notice the packaging on this one. I'll show you a little bit of a comparison. This is Pokemon Black too. Notice the difference in how the packaging looks here to my copy of Pokemon Platinum on the bottom. I don't know, the shrink wrapping looks a lot different. It doesn't look like the way that Nintendo would shrink wrap something. However, this is an older game, so Nintendo might have changed the shrink wrapping process since then. I mean, like for example, this is Resident Evil Revelations for the 3DS. As you can see, the shrink wrapping process is almost identical. And this is a new copy of Revelations. I've also seen some classic PS1 games and stuff like that, brand new copies with similar shrink wrapping. So I just don't know. I don't know if I actually got a brand new copy, but until it's like this, I do have a reflective cover. It doesn't look like a fraudulent copy or something like that. The cover itself is holographic, so you can't print this kind of thing out. So it just gives me some barriers. If you guys have brand new copies of Pokemon Platinum version hanging around and you have similar shrink wrapping to that or different shrink wrapping, please just post a comment and tell me about that. I've been curious for days about that one. So Once again, this is a little postscript. Take care, guys. Maniac and Pikachu out.